Hello everyone and Happy New Year! Welcome to my new YouTube channel, Love, Life and Libraries. My name's Karen and this is my gorgeous assistant, Grandma or Lucy. If you hear any strange screeching noises, don't worry, that's Grandma joining in. She is a cat who likes to scream very loudly. And just to make sure that we fulfil the criteria, the stereotype is librarians, books, obviously, this goes without saying, cats, single ladies. Now I don't quite feel that one. I got married a couple of years ago to my lovely husband who is responsible for this video. So what are we going to talk about today? That's a very good question. How did I get started working in libraries? A long time ago, before the world began, as my husband would say.
Stone Age.
Stone Age. I'm going to smack him around the head in a minute, there will be a scream of pain. So a long time ago, I worked in libraries as a child, would you believe? Not in the Victorian era when child labour was legal, but in the 1970s and 1980s in a public library very close to where I live. All names have been redacted for the sake of confidentiality. So I started there, and one of the things I learnt to do was to cover books. And if you think I'm now, maybe I should keep my age a secret and you can try and guess. We could have a competition later. But let's just say for around about 40 years I've worked in libraries and I still like covering books. Sad but true. So a nice shiny book cover makes my heart sing. So, as a child, worked in libraries, worked in them when you used to have queues out of the door. We didn't have computers in those days, guys. We had little tickets. It's called the Brown issue system. For those of you who are library geeks, look it up. B-R-O-W-N-E, I think. Little tickets in little brown trays, little wooden trays. Used to stretch probably 4 times as far as I'm now reaching out. And there were many of them. And if you were unlucky enough, as I was one Saturday, to drop a tray of tickets, readers had their own individual tickets, one per book. A book had a ticket inside. You put the reader's ticket together with the book ticket, and that was how you knew what people had borrowed. So just imagine if you dropped one of those trays. The utter chaos, the language that was used was probably not appropriate for a public library.
Well, even when you were a child?
Well, no, this was a bit older.
Obviously your vocabulary was very good from reading all those books.
It was, yes. And I was so proud. You're probably all the same. If you like books, you were probably desperate to get your adult reader's ticket so you could move into the adult library and be allowed to borrow all those mysterious volumes that your parents used to bring home in brown paper covers.
That sounds very dodgy. So when did you work in libraries as an adult?
As an adult, I started at the age of 17, went away to university, came back and couldn't think of anything else to do and kind of fell into working in a library. There was a part-time vacancy, 2 part-time vacancies. I needed a full-time job, managed to persuade them to combine the 2 vacancies, and then I started working full-time in a public library, the same one I'd worked in as a child, scarily enough, from the age of about 24. And I've stayed in them ever since. Stayed there for 10 years and then moved into university libraries, which was quite an eye-opener, a very different clientele. In the public library you had a lot of older people and a lot of children. And even more scarily, one of my current colleagues where I work remembers me as a very friendly librarian. She has to say that. And that she used to know I used to come and do story time and all those kind of things when the children came in. And if you were to say to me which one do I prefer, it's difficult. If I'm absolutely honest, I think public libraries are the most amazing creations. And without getting political and without ranting, anybody who wants to cut them needs their arms and legs chopped off. Harsh but true. University libraries fulfil a very different purpose, but as to which I enjoyed more, public libraries. I really liked working with children. I really liked story time when the kids used to come in and they needed help with their homework. It was a very rewarding experience. Obviously the world has moved on an awful lot since those days, so things have changed, and probably now, because I'm quite fond of eating and paying the mortgage, university library is the way I would have to go, because we are better paid. And you do have different challenges. You have the opportunity to teach students how to use libraries, how to avoid problems with plagiarism, how to do their citations correctly and so on. So it's a different challenge.
Do you still use your public library?
Oh, you bet. If you ever look on Facebook and you see the phrase library alert, based in the UK, you may see my face grinning at you from those. Every time we go out, we like to go and visit a different public library. If it's convenient, we wouldn't make a special trip necessarily, but a public library, as I've already said, is the most amazing place. It's access to, it sounds really corny, but it's access to people's dreams, it's access to information, which everybody needs nowadays, but it's also, you pay for it indirectly.
So what do you think about all of these Booktube channels then that are on YouTube, and why are you starting your own one?
I think they're really interesting because they're a chance to talk to different people about what you like and share your experiences.
And it's a lot of younger people as well doing these channels.
Younger and very beautiful.
Because also a lot of librarians, but maybe people that haven't worked as long in the profession as you have and haven't got as much experience as you have. So that's quite interesting because you've got a lot more age experience to bring to that and a lot more years of reading.
Yeah, exactly.
So what type of books do you like to borrow from the public library and read?
Almost anything. My husband has a very crude and cruel way of describing them, which is something like The Murder in the Little Tea Shop on the Corner, because I love crime fiction. There's a particular author, J.D. Robb. If you've never heard of her, try her out. She has a detective series set in the late before 2100, I suppose you call it, 2100, I don't know, and it's fascinating. She also writes as Nora Roberts, and she's quite sexy when she writes as Nora Roberts, quite a lot of sex scenes, which are quite interesting.
Is that sexy to a librarian or sexy to a regular person?
Maybe sexy to a librarian. I don't want to insult her. Maybe sexy to both. I like to sit on the fence. But she, as J.D. Robb, she writes a series about a Lieutenant Dallas, which is really, really good. It's the humour that I like. The same as in any relationship. If it's going to work, you need humour. And these books make you laugh. They also make you cry. She has a traditional troubled childhood, a female sidekick who wins promotion. Her husband is an ex-international criminal. In the first book, she tracks him down to find out he was guilty of a particular crime. Or was he? I can't remember. It's too long since I read it. There's about 29 of them, and they're really good.
So how much do you read per month?
That is a very good question. As much as I can. I like to read in the bath, so reading on the Kindle is not a good option. I did have one, which was given to me by a friend, and I dropped it in the bath, and that was the end of that experiment. So I tend to read when I have spare time, in the bath, on the bus, places where there's spare time and time to be filled. And I love to read for relaxation, so when I was younger, I tended to read the classics. When I say younger, I mean a child, basically. Now it's crime fiction. I have to be honest, I haven't read any Nordic crime, and I'm thinking of trying. So if anyone has any good suggestions, please feel free to pass them on. I know the names, but give me a name that you enjoy, and I'll have a go at reading it.
What do you think on this channel you'll be talking about?
Almost any kind of book. It won't be limited to one genre. That's
so
the thing.
So each month you can do a kind of to-be-read list.
That's the plan, yes.
And you'd like to read more sort of diverse books?
Exactly, because it's very easy to get. I mean, I say I read a wide range of material, but in fact, I like easy reading. I suppose if it was painting, it'd be like painting by numbers almost. It's quite formulaic, which is quite reassuring. When things are a bit disturbing out in the outside world, it's quite nice to go back to a formula and just enjoy that. But I would like to move on further and read a variety of material. So when I say crime, I say Nordic crime like it's something new. I would like to try that. I think moving away from the really sort of chick lit light romances to something a bit more meaty where you have to think about it and you actually not learn something, but you reflect on what you've read rather than just devouring it.
Doing something with different genres is quite interesting because we tend to always read the same genre, different genres from each other, but the same types of genre all the time, whereas I always read sort of Russian literature or more classics or more sort of sci-fi, sort of dystopian
which are great,
George
but
Orwell
they're not
style
what
books.
I would pick up if I wanted to read
whereas you tend to read different things, so it's also quite an interesting challenge for us both to read genres we wouldn't necessarily read.
And exchange ideas.
So on the to-be-read list every month, it'll be interesting because Karen may pick one book and I may pick another book, and then it'll be challenging for each of us to read that. And then a roundup of what you've read and what you've liked and what you haven't.
And keeping an eye out about what's coming out new to see if
because are you interested in reading books by new authors as well?
Yes, because it's very easy to stick with the same kind of author, somebody who you think is probably the same kind of age as you, so they're going to have similar ideas, similar background, and it's very easy to be stereotyped into doing that, and I don't think it's actually a good idea. I think it's good to try new things. If you don't like it, you never have to do it again.
I think the thing is as well, there's a lot of new authors coming out these days, but because now anybody can publish a book.
I have to say, I think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
If you have something you want to say, you can say it, and you're not restricted by the fact that a publisher won't pay you for it.
No.
Each person has their own voice.
But it's interesting because then I think though the problem is a lot of books and stuff get swallowed up.
Yeah.
Do you know, because
They're
people
just
might
not
never,
visible.
because they're not visible because of the fact that they've been published and so have a million other books that day.
And how do you shout loudly enough to get your voice heard?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to try reading new authors as well and see what new people have to say and try and pick something that's not so popular. So
some people are quite snooty about, self-published author, but why? If you've got a voice and you want to use it and you have something interesting to say,
yeah, definitely,
it's probably going to be interesting to more than just you.
That's true.
The key thing.
And then also on this channel, you're going to talk more about librarianship.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a very old, very dying profession in some ways, but it's still a very relevant profession in this day.
Not the oldest profession. Definitely one of the older ones.
So I think what's quite interesting, because I notice on a lot of Booktube channels that a lot of the younger people are newly qualified librarians or people volunteering in their libraries. So they're very passionate. I myself am doing a degree now, following in your footsteps to become a qualified librarian. But it's quite interesting because you've done that such a long time ago, and you've worked in libraries before the age of information that we're now in, so you remember the way before. So also on this channel it'll be interesting to hear some of your ideas, like stories and things from how libraries used to be.
I promise how they won't be too long, you don't have to fall asleep.
Cool, okay then.
She's gone to sleep. This is the effect this channel has.
Yeah.
That was Grandma.
Bye for now.